Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. It means a lot if you guys keep clicking. If you guys keep clicking, I'll keep making it. Today, we're back in another video. We're talking more Survivor. Today, I want to talk about who I think is going to win 41. I'm going to make this a weekly thing since y'all liked it last time. I'm going to go through everybody. I'm going to eliminate some people towards the start of the video who I feel like have no shot of winning, and then towards the end of the video, I'll talk about my top 6 people who I feel like have a genuine shot to win, and why I feel like they do. It may be 6 or 5 or 4. Who knows? We'll just have to narrow it down. But first, 72% of you guys who are watching these videos are not subscribed. Let's change that. It's easy and it's free. And with that, so let's get right into the video. All right, so let's talk about what I feel like makes a winner. I think what makes a winner to me are 3 character traits. Almost every single winner has all 3 of these traits. Now, not every single winner, but just about every single winner has these 3 traits. There's always exceptions to the rule, but I'd say 90% of winners in each of these categories have these specific traits in their game and in their edit. The first one is a decent edit, and by decent edit, I don't necessarily mean like they have to be the JT hero, but not a villain edit and not a purple edit. We have not seen a purple edit win the season other than maybe Natalie White, and obviously Natalie White's not a very good example as to how to edit your winner. Now is she? And then as far as villain edits, we've really only seen, maybe you could argue, Brian Heidick and Richard Hatch. And maybe a few more, but those are the main 2 exceptions. But the other 36 winners have gone along those lines. And so it seems to me personally like most winners have a decent edit as far as both how they're portrayed and how much they are portrayed. The second one is personal content. And by personal content, I don't necessarily mean that we need to know a whole sob story about them, about how they grew up super poor, or like they've been bullied their whole life, or that's not necessarily personal content. Personal content is really just not being seen as a pawn. Some players all season, all you hear about them is from other players and how other players are using them. Like, for an example, instead of hearing about Heather, where we'll hear about how Deshaun is using Heather as a number, and if that's the case, that's how you know that someone has no personal content. And so if someone doesn't have personal content, they usually don't win. I believe we haven't seen someone who has been like that, other than a few exceptions, maybe Natalie White, maybe Michelle. But other than that, I can't remember a season where we didn't get personal content from our winner. And the third one, and probably the most important one, is that they're most of the time they are good players, or at least decent players. It's very rare that a bad player just kind of stumbles into a win. It's usually the better players on the season win the season. Despite bitter juries, despite big twists, despite production, like a big gigantic, outcast twists or fake merge, all of that. Usually the best players end up at least winning, getting far in the game, or players that are not terrible at least win the game. It's very rare to see just a generally bad player win the season and get very, very lucky. The only examples that I can think of are someone like maybe a Bob Crowley. And I mean, you could say Jenna Maraska, but even then, she was a better player than people like Roger or Dave, or is it astronaut? Rocket scientist, I think. And so it's like usually the winner is actually a decent player. Maybe Natalie White is the only other exception besides Bob Crowley. So most winners are very, very good, or not very, very good, but at least decent players. So now I want to go back through these 3 and eliminate 3 people who I feel like fit these 3 categories as people who do not follow these 3 categories. The first one, which is to have a decent edit, meaning not a purple edit and not a villain edit, is Heather. Obviously, Heather is now eliminated from contention of being a person who could win because of the fact that Heather, to me, has no edit, period. Definitely not a villain edit, but definitely getting no edit right now. Obviously, you need to have some sort of edit in order to have a shot at winning historically, and just always, and in any reality show, if you're just like a purple edited person, you probably have no shot at winning the game. It's very rare to see production hide their winner throughout the entire season. Sometimes they may hide their winner in a premiere, for an example, like they did with Tina in the Australian Outback. But it's very rare to see production hide their winner for more than 6 episode stretches at a time, and that's what they've done with Heather. It's been now going on 8 episodes, and she has 4 confessionals, maybe even 3. She's gotten 1 event that's been circled or been actually about her, which is her failing in the challenge. And even then, that was just probably because we had more time for it. in that episode. I don't know. I personally, I just feel like, in my personal opinion, Heather has no shot of winning based off of her edit and really just lack thereof. As far as the second one goes, which is to have personal content, again, not necessarily like we know like about your family, or we know about your girlfriend, boyfriend, but just having content that shows that you're not like a pawn on somebody else's board. That's what I consider personal content. And for me, I think we've yet to see any personal content for Ricard. Now, yes, we did get, I believe, a scene about him and his husband or partner or whatever. I don't think that we've gotten any scenes where we've gotten Ricard's perspective on the game, and that's the serious issue. I think the last time that we got Ricard's perspective on the game was in like probably episode 4, maybe 5. And so that's not very good for his game overall. I don't want anyone who I'm thinking could win to get no content about their game right now, like how their game is going for the entirety of the merge. Even if he gets personal content in this next episode, I feel like that's a 2 episode gap in the 2 most important episodes where he was on that losing cohort who ended up being not or being vulnerable at the first merge tribal. Although he did win immunity, we still saw nothing from him. I believe we got like a few words from him, but they weren't in confessional. They were in a conversation that he had with other players like Danny, Deshaun, Shan, et cetera, et cetera. And so I feel like we've got no personal content from Ricard. So I feel like there's no way that we can say that he wins if we literally don't even really care about his perspective on the game in his game as a whole. And the third one, as far as who I personally feel like is just not a good player, I'm going to go with Tiffany. Now, I know that everyone is so high on Tiffany. It's like the new cool thing to be like a Tiffany stan. I'm no good. You can keep your trends. I'm going to stay where I feel like it's common sense. And I feel like it's common sense that Tiffany is not even close to being the best player on the season, not even close to being like in the middle as far as strategical sense on the season. I feel like she has a decent social game. I feel like she has very poor strategical skills. I feel like she's not going to win a jury, a jury at all. Period. I don't think a jury votes for her over anyone except for maybe Erica and maybe Heather. Other than that, I do not think that Tiffany beats anybody. Maybe one other person as the game develops. Maybe like Lyanna, because the jury might not like Lyanna. But I feel like overall, Tiffany to me fits into this category of just not good enough of a player to navigate to the end and navigate to the end to playing a game that is respectable of the jury. All right, next, I'm going to eliminate 2 people who I feel like are going home soon. Actually, no, make it 3. So the first person for me is Erica. So we actually got confirmation at the start of in episode 6, before the players knew that Erica had switched up the game, and they thought that it was just going to be Erica, I'm guessing, plus the yellow cohort. They had all planned to just go like 9 votes on Erica, or maybe even all 11 votes against Erica. And so it seems to me like she was going to go home at that first merge vote. And so that's not good. We have seen no confirmation that anybody has 11 people against them except for Erica. We have gotten confirmation that there's possibly 10 plus people who are willing to vote out Erica right now. Like right now, no questions asked, because we've seen them campaign for her to get out as soon as the merge hit, which is not good for her edit or for her game. Another person for me that I feel like could go home soon is Nasir. I feel like Nasir right now is going to get targeted pretty soon for his idol. I also don't have faith in Nasir to have the game sense in order to play it. I feel like Nasir could be that person who just doesn't think he's going home and is very easily fooled. I also think that the overall lack of awareness of Nasir, I can feel it, and I feel like if they can blindside Nasir or even have the idea, I feel like it's pretty easy to pull off there. And so I do feel like Nasir will go sooner or later, maybe in the next 3 or 4 votes. I think almost guaranteed that he'll be gone. And lastly, I feel like Evie is going to be going home soon. I feel like for me, Evie is someone who I think out of the 3, I think Xander could kind of finesse his way out of some situations and also win some immunities. I feel like Tiffany is not a threat, and people are going to try and drag her to the end. And then I think Evie is the person that's kind of left out, where she doesn't have the ability to win challenges, and she's probably not as good of a maneuverer, if that's a word, as Xander is, just overall like just wiggling out of the spot that the Yase 3 is in, as Xander is, and that leaves her as the most vulnerable player. And on top of that, she's probably the best, at least social player for sure. I think Xander might be a better strategical player, but she's definitely a better social player than Xander or Tiffany, and she's I feel like overall she has a better game sense than either of them, and so that really singles her out as the threat out of that three. And I do feel like Xander could win some immunities, which could keep him from being the target. And if they do target the three and continue to do so, that's going to leave Evie on the outs. And I want to eliminate one more person before we get down to what it's going to be our final four, who I feel like could win. But the one person who I feel like I'm going to eliminate based on another different reason is Lyanna. And that reason is that I feel like right now she's already got 3 jury members who are not going to vote for her. And that's terrible as far as jury management. Now, it's not necessarily her fault, but the fact that she had promised the Yase tribe all that time, I'm with you, and then she flips. I feel like now she now loses 3 jury votes, or especially Xander's and Evie's. Maybe Tiffany can, whatever, like Tiffany maybe like, oh no, I forgive you, but I think especially Evie's and Xander's votes on the jury, when they inevitably get there, I feel like they will probably not vote for Lyanna, and Tiffany may also not vote for Lyanna. That's 3 jury votes lost out of a jury that's going to be, I think, an 8-person jury, because they're probably going to start next week, which means that that's 11 people left minus the final 3. That's an 8-person jury, and if you're losing three votes out of 8, you now have to sweep the other 5 votes and not allow anyone to go over to the other 2. I guess you could allow 1 vote, but besides that, that's not a good spot to be in when you're trying to get jury votes like that. And so I am very, very worried for Lyanna in that sense, where not necessarily that she's going to go out now, but that she, in the end, it doesn't matter if she gets there or not, because she may just have no shot based off of the Yase 3 just really not liking her flipping on them at the merge. All right, so the 4 that I feel like can win right now are, in no specific order, Danny, Deshawn, Shan, and Zander. I'm most confident in the 3 that I said at the start. I do think Xander is a little bit more on the outs of this 4, not as far as like gameplay wise, but as far as like, I think I'm less confident in Xander as I am in this 3, although I do feel like Xander belongs in this group because he has the ability to get far. I do not think Xander can wiggle his way throughout the entire game unless he goes on like some long immunity streak. And so for me, I see 4 people that can win. The first one that I'm going to talk about is Deshawn. I feel like Deshawn is the head of his alliance. I think Deshawn really showed his strategical power when immediately at the live tribal, when he said that he wanted this to happen, everybody huddled up around him, and he was like the quarterback, just talking to them like, okay, you vote here, and he orchestrated a successful split vote. Now, was there a little bit of a miscommunication? Yes. Did he probably use his extra vote for no reason? Yes. But you really never know when you might need your extra vote. Like, what if, for an example, I'm trying to think, what if the Yase 3 had used an idol on Sydney, and then he didn't use his extra vote, and they put 3 votes on Evie? Now it's a Yase 3 plus Sydney, which is 4 votes, versus the 3 votes that they put on Evie. Now that's a vote where I believe that means Deshawn goes home. And so I think that was just a guarantee that they wouldn't play the idol for Sydney. And then they would, he would go home because they had split the vote 3-5. And so to me, it seems like personally that there is very great strategical gameplay within Deshawn. And in my personal opinion, I feel like Deshawn is the best strategical player on this season so far. As far as the player that is in the best spot strategically, I think that the best social player is probably Shan, and I think the best physical player is probably Xander. For me personally, again, that's why they're all in this top 4. And for me personally, if I have to value one over the rest of them, I have to go with the Deshawn in his strategical sense, because as much as the physical game can buy you some time and the social game can make you friends on the jury, you need strategical game to get to the end. And so I feel like personally for me, Deshaun is in a great spot in that strategical sense, and I think that's really, really good for his game. I think out of him and Danny, he has more power in that relationship, and Danny is more of a number two there. And I think that if he goes to the end with just about anybody, he probably beats anyone except for maybe the. I think he beats the entire Yase 3 except for maybe Xander. He probably doesn't beat. But I feel like he beats anybody except for maybe Xander and maybe Shan. Other than that, I feel like he beats literally everybody in this post merge. Which, I mean, to be fair, is what eight people that he beats out of the 10 others that are with him right now. I feel like that's really, really good spot to be in. So I do have to put him at a good spot in this little who will win Survivor 41 video. But for me personally, Deshaun has to be here in this top 4. Next person, Danny. I feel like Danny for me is, again, just like I said for Deshaun. Danny is in a really, really good spot strategically. I do not think that Danny is as good of a strategical player as Deshaun is, but I think that he's in just as good of a spot strategically as Deshaun is, which is actually better for his game because I feel like if there is a blindside on this like 8-person cohort and it isn't like on like a Nasir character or like a Erica character, and they like go for this like cookout 2.0 alliance in Shan, Lyanna, Danny, and Deshaun, I feel like they would go for Deshaun to try and get out. I feel like that's the person who they think is probably the best player there, and who has the most control, and who makes like them all kind of stick like glue there. As much as Danny is a big physical threat, I feel like they're more concerned with the strategical threat, and that could allow Danny to avoid a blindside there, and then just go on an immunity run all the way to the end. I feel like if Danny can bring to the end people who are not Deshaun, who are not Xander, and who are not Shan, I think he can genuinely be a lot of people on this season. I do think that he needs to watch how he talks because he is a very blunt and straightforward person, and he could alienate the future jury members by talking like that. But I think as long as he keeps that in check, I think he's in a really, really good spot to have a really good shot at winning the game. The other two that I have are Shannon Zander. So Shan, let's talk about Shan. I think Shannon's the best social player on the season. She has this sort of aura about her in which she makes friends wherever she goes. She makes people want to be working with her. She has Ricard as her number one ally, even though she kind of can ditch on him if she really wants to. She has the Cookout Alliance, which is so powerful in the game right now because they're kind of a sub-alliance within that 8-person alliance. And on top of that, she also has Lyanna as her number one ally. Now, as much as her content lately has been a little bit negative, I think that's only because she's been in opposition to Xander directly, and because Xander's hitting such a positive edit. Because when Shan and Lyanna, for an example, snap at Xander at Tribal and be like, "Okay, yeah, we know Xander, we know you have an idol." Of course, it's gonna come across negative, but really they're just frustrated because they got outplayed. And so I don't think that her quote unquote negative content is really that negative, and really like that edit ending and like just there's no way that she wins now, because she got the quote unquote like that really negative content. And so I do feel like overall I am very confident in Shan's ability to just play the game. I think she's the overall best player on this season. Like if you put all of them in 1,000 seasons with 1,000 different casts, I feel like Shan would definitely win most of more times than anybody else on average. I do not think that she's in the best spot in the game. I think she's in a top 4 spot, obviously, probably a top 3 or 2 spot for me personally. I think she's definitely behind Deshaun, and it's an argument as to whether she's ahead of Danny right now, as far as being in a good spot. But I do feel like overall she is the best player on this season. She also has the extra vote which Ricard gave to her. She also has an idol, and the only person who knows about those two things. Well, I think people probably know about the idol because of the whole snakes and butterflies, but she has the extra vote, and so if she needs to take out someone like, for example, a Ricard or something like that, she can, because she has the firepower, even if some of her allies or some of that 8-person kind of like majority alliance don't agree to do that. And lastly, I have Xander. The reason I have Xander here isn't because I think he's in a good spot in the game, but I have so much confidence in Xander after this last episode to navigate the game and be able to stay out of trouble. I feel like Xander will have a few votes where he can flip the vote to somebody else. I feel like he obviously has the idol, so I'm sure he'll have a vote where he plays the idol for himself. And then on top of that, it's not like he's alone. Like, it's not like it's 10 people versus him. It's what, 8 people versus 3. And I think with Erica helping them out, I feel like Xander could get some help from Erica as to who they're voting for, and they could possibly, be able to correctly play their idol. I do think that there is an issue here because the majority alliance is at 8 and they're at 3, which means that the majority alliance can now split the vote 4-4. And not even have to go to a tiebreaker. I mean, it's just a straight up easy split. The issue is that's never really that easy in Survivor, especially nowadays. It's never that easy. And it's never just like an easy split. Okay, game over. There you go. But overall, I'm much more confident in Evie to win challenges. And I'm much more confident in Xander than Evie to win challenges, and I'm much more confident in Xander than Tiffany to navigate through the game. I also think that right now Xander beats anybody, literally anyone other than maybe Deshawn. I think Xander easily beats anybody else in the game, and it's not even a close vote. I think right now, although he and the Yase cohort won't vote for Lyanna in the end, I feel like Lyanna would vote for him in the end. I feel like that's a really good spot to be in because it gives him more power in that relationship. I do think overall he's going to have to win at least 3 immunities. I think he's going to have to play his idol correctly, and I think he'll have to get through 3 votes by just social maneuvering. But if he can do that and get even close to the fire making challenge, I feel like if he gets to fire making, then he could win and get to the end for really an easy win against anyone except Deshawn. And so I do personally feel like if he can pull over Erica, now it's 7-4, and now they can't split the votes anymore. In fact, if they do it correctly and it's a 4-4 split, they could have it where no, I guess they couldn't, but if they can flip Erica, now it's a 4-7 vote, and they can still split the votes, but it won't be as easy of a split. And then if they can flip one more person besides Erica, maybe like a Heather or a Nasir, now you're talking about a 5-person alliance versus a 6-person alliance, and that's super easy to then just because then there's no splitting. It has to be an idol play correctly, and I trust Xander to make the correct idol play in that situation. As far as how I would rank their chances of winning right now, I would probably put Deshawn at first. I would probably put Shane at second. I'd go ahead and throw Danny at third and Xander at fourth. Obviously, I have Xander at fourth because I personally feel like Xander is going to go sooner or later, probably later for me. But I do think there's no way that if the players have any sense that they let him get anywhere near the end. I do have Danny at third because I do feel like Shan edges him out as far as a better, she's just a better player overall. I do think that Danny is closer to Deshawn, but I think that Danny could get sniped out. Whereas in Shan, I don't see Shan getting sniped out. I see more of like a final 7 vote for Shan, where it's just like she kind of is like the odd person out, where they just figure out that she's a really, really big jury threat, and she may go out like that. Then I have Shan at second because I feel like she's just a better player than Danny is overall, just like a better overall Survivor player. There's nothing, no other things. It's just that she's a better player than Danny, and so I feel like that's what gives her the edge over Danny. And then I have Deshawn at first because I feel like he's the best strategical player in the game. He's in the best spot in the game by far, and I don't think he's getting blindsided anytime soon. But I do think it could come maybe in not this vote, but maybe anywhere past the next vote. I feel like then he's kind of in that danger zone to get be like the gigantic blindside of the season. That's like, oh my god, do you know that vote really kick the season into overdrive? I feel like he could be that blindside. So, to recap, I have Heather not winning because she is not having a good edit. I have Ricard not winning because he's not getting personal content. I have Tiffany not winning because she's not necessarily a good player in my eyes. I have Erica, Nasir, and Evie not winning because I feel like they're going to go home soon. I have Lyanna not winning because she's not a jury threat. Let's just say that. And then I definitely have these 4 winning in Deshaun, Danny, Shan, and Xander. But tell me, who do you have winning this season? Who do you feel like are the contenders to win? And is there anyone who you feel like at this point has no shot, other than the obvious person, which is Heather? And I want to talk about Heather and just touch on that. I think that overall, it's tough because as a viewer, it's hard to get mad at someone getting purpled, because the entire point of getting purpled is that nobody cares about you. So it's hard to care that someone's getting purpled if I don't even know who they are as a person. I feel like at this point, when we see Heather getting an increase in edit, we know it's probably her boot episode, which sucks because one, that means that means there's like, it's very predictable, and so it leads to a very boring episode, in which is like we know immediately that it's going to be Heather that is going to be the one going home as soon as she starts getting content. And on top of that, it's really, really annoying because we want to know Heather. Obviously, we don't really care about Heather at this point because we don't know her that well, but I would personally like to get to know Heather as at least a person, if not a player at least. I'm curious to see why exactly they voted for Sydney and not maybe I'm trying to think, maybe they like why not just kind of nudge out someone like a Nasir, for an example, who was vulnerable, I believe, at the tribal, and he had no idea, and so that would be such a good tactic. And so I do feel like I'm very confused as to why they went for Sydney instead of going for Nasir, who has an idol and who is probably a better player, maybe. I don't know. But I feel like for overall, Sydney is more of a loyal ally to Deshaun, and so I'm very confused as to why he went for Sydney. I was very sure that power trio was going to stay together the whole time, throughout the whole game, and eventually they would get blindsided, but I did not think that they would blindside each other so quickly. And as far as Sydney, I mean, her exit press is just absolutely hilarious. She is not a fan of Survivor right now. She's not really a fan of CBS either, and I don't blame her. And that's what I mean. I feel like right now this season is really, really good, but I feel like it's gonna always have this like kind of just tinted view of it, where it's always going to be this like Erica effect, where I feel like I'll always see this season. Oh yeah, that was the season that was like turned upside down because production like had like a terrible Erica hourglass twist. Like I feel like no matter how good this season gets, there will always be that feeling about the Erica hourglass like effect almost, because now the entire season is kind of swapped. Sydney would not have gone home if it weren't for this twist. If Danny goes home, or if Deshaun goes home, I feel like they also would not have gone home if it weren't for this twist. And so I do feel like this twist was super unfair, in my personal opinion. But I can understand why production thought it was a good idea, and why they felt personally that they needed to have this twist on the season. Although I think overall it's not at all a twist that should ever come back. I think it's worse than any twist that they've ever done, and it's not really even close. That's it, guys. I mean, I just want to continuously thank you guys for continuously clicking on these videos. None of this happens without you guys. Without you guys, I'm just a weird guy speaking into a microphone. So as always, like, subscribe, hit the little bell thing, and then you can hit the all button. That's the most important thing in the whole world. More important than food, more important than water, more important than anything at all. Give me ideas down in the comments for new videos. I'm running out of ideas every day, and somehow I kind of just find an idea in my head. But if y'all can come up with ideas that you guys would like to see, I'm totally down to make them. Just let me know what you guys are interested in me making overall. And again, thank you for the continuous support. Daily content continues. And if that's it, guys, I'll talk to you guys in the next one.